It's 1913. You're driving through town in your brand new Ford Model T. The roof is down. The sun is warm on your face. And for the first time in history, you feel what freedom really means. The power to go wherever you want, whenever you want. But that freedom comes with a new problem. You're running out of gas. Just around the corner, though, sits something the world has never seen before. The very first gas station. You pull in, top up your tank in mere seconds, and roll away with a full tank of promise. This simple idea, a dedicated place to refuel your car, would change the world forever. Before this, buying fuel was awkward and dangerous. In the late 1800s, most people used kerosene for lamps and stoves. You'd go to the local hardware store, where an employee would pour the kerosene into a can for you to haul home. When the first cars sputtered onto roads, that same kerosene would be poured into a funnel and drained straight into the fuel tank. Slow, messy, hazardous. Something had to change. Enter Sylvanus Bowser, an American inventor. Bowser designed a simple, clever hand pump that made it much safer to transfer kerosene. His machine used a crank to squeeze fuel from a storage tank through a one-way valve and out through a nozzle. One full crank delivered exactly 1 gallon. Before long, these pumps started popping up along city sidewalks. Attendants would stand by, cranking fuel into early cars. But there was a catch. Drivers had no way to know if they were really getting all the fuel they paid for. So came the next leap, the visible fuel pump. This genius design added a glass tank on top of the pump. The attendant would first pump fuel into this clear cylinder so the customer could see exactly how much they were buying. Then, gravity did the rest, pulling the fuel down through a hose and into the car's tank. A simple tweak in technology solved a big trust problem and made fueling up far more reliable. But the curbside pumps had another flaw. By 1900, there were only about 8,000 cars in the entire United States. By 1912, that number had exploded to over 1 million. The small 50-gallon curbside tanks couldn't keep up with the demand. Traffic jams clogged city streets as cars lined up for fuel. Worse still, storing large amounts of flammable liquid right next to the street was asking for trouble. Fires and explosions weren't just possible, they were common. That's why, in 1913, the Gulf Oil Company opened something entirely new in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the first dedicated drive-in gas station. Instead of one tiny tank, they buried a large storage tank underground and hooked it up to multiple pumps. Cars could pull in, refuel quickly, and drive off without blocking the road. On its first day, the station sold only 30 gallons, but word spread like wildfire. By the end of the week, it was selling over 350 gallons every single day, at about 27 cents a gallon. As cars became faster and roads stretched further, gas stations popped up across America like mushrooms after rain. They became symbols of freedom, the keys that unlocked family, road trips, cross-country adventures, and entire new ways of living. But as the car evolved, so did its fuel. By the 1920s, gasoline had replaced kerosene, because it was more efficient and burned cleaner inside the engines. However, gasoline brought a hidden danger. Unlike kerosene, which only releases flammable vapor when heated to around 38 degrees Celsius, gasoline has a flash point of about -40. That means it is constantly giving off flammable vapor, even in freezing temperatures. This vapor built up inside tanks and escaped every time a car was filled. One stray spark, one unlucky moment, and entire gas stations could, and did, go up in flames. Fast forward to 1947. By now, attendants had been pumping gas for decades. But one man, Frank Ulrich, had an idea that would flip the entire model on its head. He opened the first self-service gas station without the need to pay employees. He could slash his prices from 23 cents a gallon to just 18. But there was a problem. Letting ordinary people pump their own gas seemed reckless. Customers often overfilled their tanks, spilling fuel everywhere and creating major fire hazards. Many states banned self-service outright, so engineers set to work to make self-service safe. They invented the automatic shut-off nozzle, a marvel of simple but brilliant engineering. Inside the nozzle, a small hole near the tip lets airflow through a tiny tube to a sealed chamber with a diaphragm. As fuel flows, the air keeps the system balanced, but once the fuel tank fills up, gasoline covers the hole, cutting off the airflow. This creates a vacuum, pulling the diaphragm up. Ball bearings drop, the lever snaps shut. The flow stops instantly. Underground, the evolution was just as dramatic. Early tanks were simple steel drums buried beneath the pumps. But steel rusts. Over decades, tiny leaks allowed gasoline to seep into the soil, contaminating water and creating environmental nightmares. Today's tanks are made from durable fiberglass. They're double-walled, corrosion-resistant, and fitted with high-tech valves that make overfilling impossible. When a fuel truck arrives to top up the supply, the driver connects to hoses. One pumps gas in, the other sucks vapor back out, sending it back to the refinery to be turned into fuel again. Nothing is wasted, nothing leaks, nothing explodes. Today, more than 3 billion gallons of fuel are pumped every single day around the world, thanks to over a century of invisible, ingenious engineering. From a single hand crank on a sidewalk to the high-tech pit stops of today, gas stations have come a long way. They've made it possible for billions to travel freely, explore new places, and live life on the move. So next time you'd pull up to a pump and hear that satisfying click as the nozzle shuts itself off, remember, under your feet and inside that handle are the hidden lessons of more than 100 years of trial, error, and quiet innovation, all to keep you moving safely down the road.